Welcome to Business is Good, the podcast all about what it means to be in business in the 21st century. Small and medium-sized businesses are the lifeblood of the UK economy, and globally they can and will have a huge impact on society, the economy and how we live our lives. From technology disruption to reworking a solution to solve the world's biggest problem, Business is Good is a podcast about what it takes to be successful and how every business defines that in different ways. Business is no longer just about being defined by what you do, but it's about giving back and redefining the problems and how we solve them in a way that works for you. I'm your host, Caroline Sumners, and I'll be giving you weekly inspirational stories from business owners who are building business and solving problems. Hello and welcome to another edition of Business is Good, the podcast all about building your modern business. I am your host, Caroline Sumners, and today I'm talking to local resident and local creative business campaigner, Louise O'Brien. Louise runs a magazine locally where I live called Southsea Folk, which celebrates independent and creative businesses across the city. Obviously, this episode was recorded pre-lockdown, and I know that Louise, as many other businesses, have struggled and found it very difficult to maintain normal business operations through this time. So please do take a listen. Please do check out the Southsea Folk website and support the independent traders and creative traders that Louise so passionately supports. So we had a great chat in her kitchen over a cup of tea one morning back in February. And enjoy and over to Louise and I for another edition of Business is Good. Today we are doing something a bit different. I think you're actually the first local person that I have done on the podcast,
wow,
which is really good. So today I'm in the lovely home of Louise, or Lou. Do you prefer Lou?
Yeah, people call me Lou. I don't mind, but most people call me
Lou O'Brien, who runs the fabulous Southsea Folk. So for anybody that isn't from Southsea, which is probably most people that are listening, I hope, I don't know, what is Southsea Folk?
Well, Southsea Folk is an independent creative magazine. It's like a photographic project. It aims to capture and highlight local people, local businesses, local creatives, local artists, designers, put them all in a lovely little magazine that, has that real smell of just coming out of the printers and sort of really nice coffee table material. It's really nice to look at. And inside, a lot of people that have lived in Portsmouth and Southsea all of their lives will say to me sometimes, they'll say, well, I've lived here for a long time, and you always manage to find someone that I don't know about. So it's really great for people to just have a look inside and just support people that are doing great things in Southsea.
It's fabulous. I love it, as you know. And not just because you put me in it, but anyway. No, I love it for precisely the reason that you say, because a lot of the time I think I know of the people that are in it, but sometimes you open it up and the reason I think I know them is just because I live and work in Southsea, and I get to know a lot of the local businesses because I make it a mission to support local businesses. But there are times when I open up and I'm like, oh, I'm going to go check that out. That's amazing. So it's really good for ideas. Okay, so what made you start Southsea Folk? How long has it been going, and what's the story behind it?
Well, I moved from the north to the south. Had to move here with my husband's work, and I said to him, I ran an interior blog in the north, which I loved. I used to do a lot of things to do with interiors. I used to do a lot of interior styling, things like that. And I got hit by a car. I was in Manchester with my son.
Oh, my goodness.
We went away for a weekend. We were having a really lovely time. And it was about 5:20. We'd been for a lovely meal in the Northern Quarter. And I said to him, I basically stepped off of the pavement. So I was kind of looking at the pavement. So I had one foot on the pavement, one foot on the road. I was looking at my son that was completely stood on the pavement. And I was saying, where else do you want to go before we go to this concert tonight? Because our apartment was across the other side of the road. And not being able to see or, judge anything, a car reversed into me. It wasn't going at a huge speed, but it was kind of the impact of how it hit my hip, impacted my spine. And so that was really scary. So I had quite a big recovery from that. I couldn't lift anything. I couldn't sit down at all, not even for a minute.
Oh my goodness.
Which lasted for about 3 or 4 weeks. It was so painful. But out of that, I felt quite low, and I'm a very positive, vibrant person. So what made me feel better was writing. I was just writing, because when I did start to feel a bit better, I still couldn't walk very far. I still felt quite ill. I had a bit of recovery, but I found that I could feel positive in writing. I could feel positive talking about the area. And then I found that I really enjoyed it. And then people really enjoyed reading about it. And so they, I used to get invited to a lot of things in Sheffield, like new bar openings, new restaurants, really exciting things. And I loved it. And I've always been a real person that supports the local independents. I've always shopped local. I've always, really had that vibe about me. So when we moved down here, which was May 2017, I said to my husband, please don't put me in a little village in the middle of nowhere, because I will be bored stiff. I'll have no one to talk to. I've got no friends. I've left my family. I've left everything behind. I've come here. So I did a lot of research about Southsea. I visited it 3 times before we moved. And I fell in love with it straight away, because I felt that whole vibrant, independent thing. Southsea had got more independence than most places have across the UK. Everywhere you go, it's like, you sort of, it's just brilliant. I love it. So I instantly fell in love with it. And then I met a girl called Helen, who was running a wedding magazine, and she just started she did the first issue of Southsea Folk.
Is this Margot's wedding?
Yes.
Shout out to Helen.
Shout out to Helen. And she's got some amazing ideas. She's brilliant. And I went and met her because I was going to do some writing for her. And she said, you know what? I think you would be perfect for Southsea Folk. Everything that you're about, your ethos, everything, you just sit really well with that. So I went and helped her to get out the first issue. And then we worked on the second issue together. And it was great. But I think she found Southsea Folk is really, really hard. Sorry, that's just my phone that I should have turned off.
It's all right.
Southsea Folk is really hard work, and it was something that's going to take a long time to build up. And I think Helen just couldn't dedicate that time to it. So she ended up going off to do more work with Margot's wedding, and I took on Southsea Folk full time. So I took that on in May 2018. The first thing I wanted to do was create a front cover where an artist could be, really given a platform to maybe express about the area or about themselves. And so that was a lovely addition that I did straight away. And I'm really glad I did that, because it gave a real focus. I found people, I started on issue 3 on my own. When I got to like issue 5, people were like, I collect this. I want to, I'm missing issue 2. I want to, where can I get it from?
They look so good as well. Exactly.
Yeah. So, that was a great thing. And I just felt that there was so much scope for it to grow. I wasn't in a rush, because it was something that I loved and enjoyed. So the financial part of it was, that doesn't matter. It will have its own organic growth. It will grow, which it has. And it's got that momentum now where people, they want to advertise in it. I mean, I get so many requests of people wanting to be in it. Can you please, promote me and put me in it? Which is hard sometimes because, if I plan a magazine and I'm working 3 to 6 months in advance, I can't always do that. But that's where I brought in other platforms. So the website's great because I can write blog posts and help people with that. And then also, the new podcast, which has been absolutely brilliant. I've really enjoyed that. I think podcasts are lovely. They're great because you can be doing your washing up, you can be ironing, you can be in the bath, you can be driving somewhere to a meeting, and you can listen to them all the time, can't you?
And I didn't pay you to say that either, did I?
No.
Podcasts are great.
They are though, aren't they? They are amazing.
Yeah. So how many issues are you on now?
So I'm working on issue 10 now. Yeah.
I didn't know that was the story behind it, that Helen had started it.
Yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't know where Southsea is, I mean, I'm pretty certain that most of the listeners are UK based, I think. But if you don't know where Southsea is, it's let's say it's the seaside part of Portsmouth. So it's it's part of Portsmouth. So, and as Lou said, there are so many independent businesses and independent shops. Yeah. It's thriving, really, isn't it? I would say, if you look at some of the streets where the independent businesses are, and it's probably not that well known for it either. I think people think Brighton and other places are much more well known for it, but actually we've got a lot going on.
Oh yeah,
and I think that's why your magazine is so good, because it really highlights all of those people.
Yeah, I love it as well because I always say it's kind of like a young Brighton. So it's not as big and as commercialised as Brighton and has got as much focus, but Southsea in itself has got so much scope to grow even more, and that's what's exciting. That's why I love being here, because the creative vibe is unbelievable. And there's such a great wide collection of artists that are drawn here, Yeah, we've got some world-class artists, haven't we? Yeah, definitely. And street art and just so much. There's so much creativity. It's brilliant. I love it. And a real writing, spot when you think about Charles Dickens and,
There's so much history. Yeah. It's unbelievable. Yeah. So Southsea Folk, you've been doing it 2 years. Pretty much.
Yeah.
But you just do it part-time? It's not a full-time job?
No, it basically...
You kind of work it around your life?
Yeah, but I have pretty much worked full-time on it, really, for the past couple of years. Because, I mean, there's only me that distributes the magazine. So I got every week there's 250 copies being handed out. You imagine that, getting to every independent around the city, around Southsea and into Portsmouth as well. And then, there's just so much to it because it's built that momentum. I've got emails to answer, get back in touch with people, arrange meetings, try and get people to advertise. So I do all the marketing, I do all the advertising, I do, I'm the editor for the magazine. I write quite a lot of the blog posts, so I'm constantly trying to get, interesting stories. So it's been quite full time really, but I fit it around, my family. I've got a little boy that's now 9, so he was 7 when I started working on it. And I always picked him up from school and did things with him. And he would say, "You don't work, Mummy." But that's because he never saw me working, because I was always spending time with him, then going back to work when he goes to bed.
But also, I think it's because you're not working in the traditional sense, as in you're not driving to an office and sitting there for 8 hours and then coming back again.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the whole premise of this whole podcast, is about how you build a modern business that fits around you and is around your passion and stuff like that. So you're working pretty much all the time, I would imagine.
Yeah, you never
Even though it doesn't seem,
you never switch off.
Like it.
Yeah, you never switch off, and it's like, I work on a Sunday, I work weekends, I work all the time. It's like you say, when it's your own business, you never switch off, do you? And I think that has been one thing for me that I've had to really, probably the first year, I felt I'd really got something to prove. So I was like really pushing at 100 miles an hour. And then I kind of stopped and thought, I'm going to make myself ill being like that. Let's just calm down a little bit. Just chill out.
Just calm it down.
Calm it down. And now what I've realised is, I can work at my own pace. I've had a lot of people come to me and say, oh, you should do this and you should be doing that, you should do this. But my answer always back is, I'm on my own journey. I create my own waves. You're either on that wave with me or you're not, and that's fine. I don't expect everyone to love what I do. I don't expect everyone to agree with everything that I'm trying to achieve or what I do, but I'm fine with that. And I think part of that comes with age, because I'm like nearly 50 now. Like, if that would have been 20 years ago,
I'd be stressed about it.
Worried sick about what everybody thinks all the time.
Yeah.
Now I just think it's fine.
Yeah, you're not for everyone, and that's fine. That's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's actually the biggest lesson of all those people I've spoken to on the first series of the podcast, because this is the second, is that it's just getting to that point in your head that actually not every business is for everybody, and you just got to go with it. And because there's always going to be people that do love what you do.
Yeah. And I think...
But it's scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
When you first start doing it, you just think, what am I doing?
Yeah, I think for me, I've got that kind of... I always want to please everyone all the time, and I have that about me where I am a happy person, and I want other people to be happy as well, and happy with what they see from me, what they do. But like we talked about your photograph, didn't we? A little bit, how you weren't happy with that photograph. And I didn't know that. And then I thought it was a lovely photograph, and I was going around really proud, showing everyone. And you didn't really love it. And that made me think, when I'd spoken to you, that actually, so this time in this magazine that we've just done, we spent more time with the photo subjects.
Yeah.
And we made sure that they were more comfortable, that they were happy with what we were putting out.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's little learning things that you think you've cracked it, but you actually haven't.
The thing is, no one likes themselves in photos, I don't think. And I didn't just, like, for everybody listening, I didn't just like pick up the phone and go, Lou, I hate that photo. What's that?
Well, you
all
never
about?
said anything.
No, I didn't say anything.
We were on a night out.
Yeah.
And you'd had something like 2 glasses of wine.
And then said, oh, by the way, I really hate that photo.
Yeah. But I mean, I'm the same. I mean, sometimes I feel like I can take a good photo, and then sometimes I can take the worst photo, and I hate that.
Well, the thing is, with mine, it was more challenging as
thing,
well, because most of the time you take people in their shop or their office location, don't you? And at the time I didn't really have anywhere that I worked from, because I was homeless, as it were, in terms of the office. So I think it was more challenging because we were trying to find space, weren't we, where we could do it.
Yeah.
So
which I actually loved the space that we found, because I love street art, and I loved it. Was James from the Coast Guard studio. It painted these feathers. Yeah. And it was nice.
It wasn't that. I think I just don't like myself in photos, and I was just like, oh my God, my hair looks awful, and and all of that stuff. But I love that your magazine's got a certain style about it, and I didn't know that was the history behind it, to be honest. That you wanted it to be kind of like a coffee table, kind of like... Well, not some kind of...
Yeah, I've always been into design and interiors and design books and magazines and things. And I just think, for me, and I don't know if other people agree with that, but I think print is not dead. Print is going through a very difficult time at the moment, and it has probably for the past 5 years.
Yeah.
But if you're going to put something in print, it needs to have value.
Yeah.
It needs to have something that someone is going to go, yes, I'll read it. But, it's got lots of other factors in it as well, like the design factor, the art factor, things. For me, personally, that's what I think. I think print has to add value. And I think Southsea Folk does.
Yeah, that's funny you should say that, because actually one of my clients, regular clients I work with on an ongoing basis, is a printers, and we have this conversation quite a lot, that it isn't dead, and they kind of got the same, they've been going 100 years, and they've got the same kind of like thought process around it as you. I mean, obviously they're printers, so they've got that whole kind of like, you've got to do really good quality work, and it's got to add something to people.
Yeah.
Because then people will print it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, what annoys me at the moment, there's so many things that worry me, and it's not so much, when we look back in 20 years' time, we will realise, the luxurious lifestyles that we had. But what annoys me is when I get a Domino's, flyer through the door, and the amount of junk mail you get, and it's just paper and it's just junk, and you're going to chuck it straight in the bin, and that's what annoys me. Because that, okay, that's marketing, it's advertising, but we've got so many other platforms now that we don't need to be chopping down trees 24/7. So we can get a Domino's, I mean, I don't want to say names, brands, but, it could be any of them. But I don't want to get that through my door.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
Because it just has to go straight into the recycling bin.
Yeah.
And then it has to go off to the recycling place.
Yeah.
And it's like, where does it go from that? Does it get incinerated, or does it get, put to being into something else?
Yeah. Yeah, and with your magazine, I'm pretty certain that people probably keep it.
Yeah. Well, that's the idea.
Yeah.
And I spoke to a lovely lady who had worked in marketing a very long time, about 6 months ago it was actually, and she said that, what people do is they will read your magazine, then they will pass it on to somebody else. So
I've done that.
So that's good. So that you read it, you pass it on, and it gets passed around. So that's cool.
So what are the plans for Southsea Folk this year? Because you did the awards last year. Are they happening again? Or?
Yeah, I'm hoping to do the Southsea Folk Awards again. I've not got a confirmed date yet. It was kind of like the middle of May last year. So I'm just going to sit down and work it all out. But yeah, I definitely want to do the awards again. People sort of said, 21 categories, it's too much, but we whizzed through that on that night.
Yeah, you did.
It was brilliant. So I'm not afraid of the categories. I'm going to change it up so that it's not the same winners again as last year.
But it was voted for, wasn't it?
It's all voted for.
You want it to not be the same.
So there'd be slightly different categories.
Right.
So they wouldn't be the exact same categories last year. And then what we would do is, I think, is sort of say to the winners from last year is, listen, you won last year. Would you sponsor the award for this year? And then give out the award. So you're still including that business person who won last year, but it's just giving other people a chance to sort of promote them and, So
Southsea Folk Awards, and then what else is happening with the magazine? You got the podcast, like you said.
I've got the podcast, yeah. I've got a collaboration that I've just done with the artist of the latest magazine, which I think is going to be really, really good. So we've designed a bag together, a really nice bag.
Nice, like a tote bag?
Yeah, but really good quality. It's not a thin one; it's a really, really good thick canvas one. So that's good. So we're going to run a competition with that.
Are they going to be for sale, or are they just to win?
Yeah, they're just to win, I think, at the moment, because I've only got about 15 of them, and I don't want to just give them away. But yeah, so we've got that. Then working on the next magazine, so that's all exciting. I've got a big project coming up with Aspects Gallery, which is going to be all about climate emergency. That's going to be a competition that's put out across kind of Portsmouth and Hampshire.
Nice.
So people can enter a competition to win a place to design the front cover for a Southsea Folk, so that's exciting. I'm working on a few projects, which is what I think about our city is we live in a waterfront city, and we should be a pioneer leading at the front of the UK to push for things to do with climate change and climate, issues. And so that is something that I feel quite strongly about. So I'm working on different projects. I'm working on a project with schools. That's going to be, which is, I can't talk too much about at the minute, but there's that. And then there's also going to be that project with the Aspects Gallery. And then there's going to be like another project as well that I want to work with independent businesses in Southsea and get them to switch to eco-friendly packaging. So some businesses already do that really well now, like the Southsea Deli, amazing. Hunter-gatherer, amazing. But then there are other businesses that could do better. So I'm going to try and arrange to set up on my website sort of a button where you can, where you can press on it and it will show a list of businesses that are already doing amazing, eco packaging. And then hopefully that list will grow.
That's amazing.
And I think if as a community, if we can try and really, promote that would be great. The other thing is in February, so on Saturday from the 1st of February, I'm going to do a campaign in February called #LookUpSouthsea. And it's about the fact that, as a nation, we spend too much time on our phones.
Yeah.
So there was research done, and apparently an adult spends, it goes on their phone between every 9 and 12 minutes.
I can believe it.
My whole idea behind it is that, you're looking up more, you're spending more time talking to your family, your partner, your best friend, people that you spend a lot of time with, and that you're not sat. I mean, how many times have we gone into a restaurant? I mean, I have, and I'm sure many other people have, and you see an entire family sat waiting for their food and they're all sat on their phones.
I know, yeah.
So it's just about, putting your phone away for a bit and just trying to get a bit of balance. And I'm just as bad as everybody else. I'm not going to put myself up there on a pedestal, but I've had to really learn to
switch off type thing.
To switch off and sort of say, right, I'm not going to look at this phone now until 9 o'clock tonight, or I'm going to turn it off at 9 o'clock at night and not look at it again till 8 o'clock.
But the other benefit of that is, like Look Up Southsea, is there's so much actually to look at as you're walking around. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just all the street art, like you said, and all some of the old buildings and stuff that you just don't notice. So it's I think that's really good. So when's that starting? 1st of Feb?
1st of Feb,
For the whole of Feb, or just generally?
The whole of Feb is going to be on. So look out for that. I mean, the idea came from, I never watch daytime telly. I never get time, but I sat down, I just had some breakfast last week, and I just watched a little bit of Lorraine, and she'd done this whole campaign of #LookUp, and I just loved it, and I thought, it's brilliant. Why not bring that to Southsea? Why not have us do something fun? Because February can be, although we say January can be a depressing month, I think February can also be quite depressing, because even though everybody gets their wages from, first wages from Christmas, February can still be quite a tough month. So
it's because
so
I think it's any
nice.
time before the clocks go to change is tough, I think. Personally. So what I love about Southsea Folk, and I know we've got to wrap up because you've got to go somewhere. So what I love about it and what you've just talked about is that you've just organically grown this business, and you've got all these different visions for it, if you like. So it started as supporting local business and supporting local independence, but now you're bringing in wider issues as well, which affect us all, but also can help, I think, other independent businesses stand out. Yeah. So it's all kind of like reinforcing each other. Yeah. So it's about kind of like, who are those businesses that have also got purpose and have also got things that they're trying to fix. And I love the whole way the whole ecosystem works together.
I think where we live, and I think it's such a collaboration of, Southsea Folk wouldn't be as successful it is without those independent businesses and creatives and individuals that have really got on board with it. Yeah. That have really given support. I mean, like yourself, you've really supported it. So it wouldn't be where it is without that. But I think it's nice that we can support each other and that you can give back. It's not about me just taking. Yeah. It's about giving back all the time. And that's what I do wherever I can. I've got a new business that pops up and I see that they've got a great vision and that, they've got a lot about them. I will always look to help them and promote them.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that edition of Business is Good and chatting to Lou about all things Southsea Folk. It's a great magazine that passionately supports local businesses. So if you, even if you're not local to the south coast of Hampshire, it's great to check out in terms of some of the truly amazing and internationally acclaimed local artists and businesses that we have located here on the south coast. So hope you enjoyed that episode, and from me it's goodbye, and speak to you and see you again soon. tune in next week where we'll have more inspirational stories talking about moving your business beyond what it is and moving it more towards what you're in business for, what's important, and doing good and changing the way things should be done.